Welcome everybody to this week's episode of Two Sweet Converse. We are episode number 28. We are coming to you. I am Neek L. What's up?
Hey everyone, Steve-O here. Greetings.
What up, everybody? Wild card.
What's up, everybody? EJB here. How y'all doing?
Welcome to the show, everyone, where wrestling and cosplay unite. Let's get it going. We got a great show for you guys planned this evening. All right, Steve-O, would you like to introduce the topics, good sir?
Yes, well, thank you very much, Nico. Starting off, before we get into the show, thank you for watching last week's episode, and thank you for those who tuned into PocketCon Virtual to watch our Best of 2020 panel. You can go to the Facebook page of PocketCon, or you can now watch it on our Two Sweet Cosplay YouTube page. Also, we want to send our condolences to both the recent passings of Pat Patterson, as well as Tiny, Zeus, Lister. He's been in various movies, including Friday, The Dark Knight, and of course, who can forget him as Zeus in No Holds Barred, as well as in other wrestling matches with Hulk Hogan, and also appearing in WCW as Z Gangsta. Nico, I know you had a good story with Pat Patterson. Before we get into it, would you like to share some of your memories with him? And if you guys want to discuss a little bit of any memories with Pat Patterson or Zeus, please feel free to do so.
Yes, thank you, Steve-O. For those of you who follow me on social media, I talked about this on all my social media platforms last week when I immediately heard the news and found out about the passing, about the legendary Pat Patterson, the first ever WWE or WWF Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion. One of Vince McMahon's real confidants in the industry, whose contributions to wrestling are second to none, not just with the stuff he helped create, like the Royal Rumble match and being the first ever Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion, but also the talent he helped guide and mold. He was a big influence on The Rock, who is not only one of the best professional wrestlers ever, but one of the biggest stars right now in the world today, from wrestling, also being a big influence on the likes of Bret the Hitman Hart and Shawn Michaels, among many others. Pat Patterson is great. My story with him, obviously growing up as a 90s kid, seeing the Stooges, with Vince McMahon being the heel boss. You had Patterson and Briscoe, and all their comedy antics that they did together, or with Mae Young and the Fabulous Moolah, and with Mean Gene Okerlund. But anyways, my Pat Patterson story, it was 2 years ago. We were all at Starcast. Ezra and I are sitting at the bar, having a good time. A friend of mine comes up to me, Brian, a good buddy of mine. He goes, "Hey, they're doing the roast of Bruce Pritchard over there in one of the halls. Let's go check it out." I left it while Ezra was talking to a female. So I let him have his fun, and I was smiling. Nothing happened for him. Haha. It's okay. I love you. Anyways, I go check it out. It's the tail end of it. Pat Patterson is singing karaoke. I think he was doing My Way. I can't remember what song Pat was doing, but he was doing karaoke. So we leave. Everybody's at the bar. Again, I'm with E. All of a sudden, Pat Patterson and Gerald Briscoe are at the bar, and I got to get a picture with Patterson and Briscoe. Pat's got a beer in his hand. He's got a Coors Light. All of a sudden, I go, "Hey, Pat, what's up?" He goes, "Hey, how you doing, kid?" He goes, "Hey, you drinking tonight?" And I'm immediately stonewalled because I'm like, wait, Pat Patterson offered me a beer? Get the kid a beer. What are you drinking? What are you drinking? He's looking at me. I'm looking at E. I'm like, "E, you want to, what do I do here?" He's like, "Just take the freaking beer." So gives me a small glass. He's like, "Yeah, get him a small one." Gives me a small glass of Coors Light, and I'll post a picture, but there's me with Pat Patterson drinking a beer, and that's a memory I'll always cherish. Rest in peace to the legendary Pat Patterson. He's somebody that I think whose influence on wrestling, but not only the world, is going to be second to none.
Thank you very much, Nico. Very, very good story about Pat Patterson. Yeah, can't deny the man being the inventor of the Royal Rumble and being the first IC champion. And also, I want to give the shout out to Zeus. Definitely loved him as the villain in No Holds Barred, and he's definitely had good roles in Friday and other movies like that. But yeah,
Harlem Nights. Yes,
thank you. But yeah, a wild card, EJB. Do you have any memories you wish to share before we move on?
Yeah, actually, I do. Getting to first off, condolences to Pat Patterson and Zeus. Pat Patterson, of course, living a long life. For many people who don't know, is that real quick fact is that Sylvain Grenier, who used to be in WWE as a member of La Resistance, is actually the caretaker and guardian of Pat Patterson when he got ill and got older. So he actually owns Pat Patterson's estate at this point and is in charge of his affairs. So quick little note about that. And seeing Nico being able to have a quick beer with Pat Patterson was an awesome moment. Getting to say hi to him was cool, even if it was just for a brief second. Like you said, inventor of the Royal Rumble match, first ever IC champion. All that can't be denied. And there's been questionable things, but about him in the past, but nothing can take away what he's done as a professional wrestler, as a producer backstage, as a hand, helping build the careers of guys like The Rock. Bully Ray even talked about it on his show that Pat Patterson was one of his biggest influences backstage and helped them learn how to sell and helped them learn how to do things right inside the ring. And whenever Bully Ray thought, oh, I got this perfected, Pat would be able to pick it apart and say, you could do this. This is good, but try this. And he would. And it would actually be a better result. So Pat's influence backstage, also outside of his in-ring career, is second to none. And as far as Zeus goes, a lot of people remember him from Friday, but I remember him from The Dark Knight when he appeared on one of the boats that the Joker was going to blow up. And he told the guard to give him the button to the device that would blow it up. And it said, I'll tell you what you should have done 10 minutes ago, and throws the device out the window into the waters. I still remember that moment from that movie, and it's one of the most critical moments of that movie when that happened. So he's definitely a great actor, and sad to see him go as well. Wish him and his family condolences and prayers, and hopefully both him and Pat Patterson are at peace right now. Andy, what do you got?
I'll be brief with this just because we got a lot to cover on this podcast. But, my condolences do go to both parties. Pat Patterson, first ever Intercontinental Champion. That's quite an accomplishment considering how prestigious that title has been over the years. I still remember him as, I guess my first memory of him was when I started watching wrestling, excuse me. When he was part of the corporation, as part of, with him, Jerry Briscoe, part of Vince McMahon's regime there too. I just remember the first time I actually saw him actually do his thing on WWF TV at the time was when he and Gerald Briscoe would. I forgot exactly what was the storyline, but I guess the Mean Street Posse was calling them out, and all of a sudden, they were just poking, but just pressing buttons with them, and all of a sudden, I just see these two guys, Patterson and Briscoe, just beat the holy hell out of these guys, and I'm just like, wow, that was awesome there too. So that was one of my that's actually a memory of Pat Patterson that I remember the most, just because I was like, oh wow, this guy's a legit badass right there for beating up those punks right there, you know. But I thought that was a cool moment. Of course, there's a lot more with him, but I won't go into super detail. My condolences do go to the rest of his family as well. You know, as far as you know, Zeus, I like to call him, is concerned, or Debo, you know, in the Friday movies. I actually remember coming across him in there was a convention going on called Days of the Dead, which happens in Rosemont every year. He was actually there, and I was just like, oh shit, that was Debo right there. So, you know, he was just there, just chilling for the most part. And, you know, I thought that, you know, it was, you know, he seemed like a really chill guy. And, you know, I actually had an opportunity to just say hi to him, just say, shake his hand, and be like, oh, hey, man, I loved you in Friday. And, you know, of course he was in, you know, the Dark Knight as well. But, you know, I thought he was actually a pretty nice guy. Again, my two condolences go to Tiny Lester and his family. And, you know, if you get this reference, and this is the last thing I'll say about him, it's his bike, punks. Yeah.
Real quick. The master of the finish. The master of the finish. I'll just leave it at that. You know, he always made the crowds go banana.
Absolutely. So yeah, moving on from the sad news, we're going to be talking about one of the hottest topics today in wrestling. Kenny Omega appearing on Impact Wrestling. And not only that, Kenny Omega recently won the AEW World Championship last week at Winter is Coming, this AEW Dynamite special event. And he actually got the assist from Don Callis, who is a big authority figure over at Impact. You know, he's the guy that makes the shows happen these days. So, yeah, big ending to last week's Dynamite where he says, oh, we'll see you on Tuesday. And they said, no, Dynamite's on Wednesdays. But they're like, yeah, well, you're going to see us on Impact on Access TV. So he did show up. He had a segment. The Impact World Champion Rich Swann was denied access to the parking lot where Kenny and Don were interviewed by Josh Matthews. And then they were being shown from a tour bus in the parking lot of Skyway Studios where Impact tapes their weekly shows. And then the next night, they both appear on Dynamite, giving a fairly similar promo. Just, you know, they're kind of a faction. Or, well, they're an alliance, I should say. But, guys, what's your thoughts on Kenny's appearance on Impact Wrestling? What do you think the next steps will be, if there's going to be any further cross promotion between the promotions? Do you think that we'll see some other stars appear, or will this be only a one-time deal, or what's going to be going on? And also, what do you think of Kenny Omega as the current Impact champion? How about I have EJV start this one off?
Sure. Thanks, Steve-O. First off, congratulations to Kenny Omega for winning the AEW World title. I thought it was about time for him. Moxley had a hell of a run, so congrats to him. The assist from Don Callis. But yeah, it's been a crazy week in wrestling, as far as just everything going on with the possible partnership between Impact Wrestling and AEW. Kenny appearing on the show this past Tuesday is unreal. And, you know, seeing him, it's always going to be more of an in-ring segment, but to see him on the tour bus with Don, Josh Matthews interviewing him. And the cool thing I liked about this segment was they didn't give too much away. And I felt like they did the same thing on Wednesday. Yes, it was a very similar promo. But to me, they did the right thing. And by the right thing, I mean they didn't give too much away at the start. And that's something that I've noticed in wrestling companies before, is that when they build these big things like these inter company battles between other promotions or other brands, they usually just go for the big surprise right at the beginning. But I understand why they didn't want to shell it because they want to build the suspense. They want to build the surprise for when we start getting these interpromotional battles, if it comes to that point. I'm 100% certain this is not just a one-off with Kenny and Don to promote AEW or promote Help Impact Out or whatever. I have a feeling this is going to have legs. I have a feeling this is going to be the next step towards something bigger. It's going to take time. And that's why I know a lot of people are upset by the fact that AEW didn't really say much, or Impact didn't really say much about it. Kenny and them didn't say much about it at all. But that's the whole point. If you want to build a long-term story, you start slow, and then you build it as it goes. I mean, come on, it's not rocket science, people. For some people it might be, but that's a whole different story. But, Kenny, I don't know where he's going to go with this next. I don't know if he's going to be facing Rich Swann, because I know he mentioned something about collecting championships. Like similar to Ultimo Dragon when he was going around collecting championships around the world. Same thing with the Hardys when they were doing the Expedition of Gold in TNA. It's going to be interesting to see where this all ends up. But I have a feeling this is going to be a great story if it's done right, if it's not done in a hurry, which it seems like they're doing the right thing by slowing it down. So kudos to Impact, kudos to AEW. Oh, and I got to give a slight mention to the promo or the little paid ad from Tony Schiavone and Tony Khan. I thought that was genius. From everything, the snarky, almost narcissistic backhanded comments from Tony Khan about he could buy Impact if he wants to because he's got the resources to do that, and how he was a little bit disappointed in Kenny that he walked out with the title the way he did. And also Tony's comment about the time he worked in Impact, and he said, yeah, he worked there and then he retired for 18 years, which had me laughing my ass off to no end. I thought it was great. I thought it was done well. And just the overall feel of the promo with the backdrop kind of gave it an old school feel, and I really love that. But otherwise, I think they've done a really good job so far. But it's going to take a little bit to see where this is going to go, but I have a really good feeling about it. Nico, what's your thoughts on it, buddy?
Yeah, thank you, EJV. I'm a little skeptical because, like you said, I think, first of all, I think the best part of all of it, after having had the last 48 hours to digest it all, or technically a week, if you want to talk about from the time Kenny Omega won the AEW World Championship from Jon Moxley in a good match, mind you. My biggest concern, while this needs some legs to build, and like you said, they got to build to this, but who does this benefit the most? Everybody's like, oh, it benefits wrestling fans. Everybody's all excited. Wow, a partnership between AEW and Impact. This is going to be great for the industry. This is going to, knock Vince on his ass and put the WWE on notice. Everybody's immediately like, wow, WWE's in trouble. It's like, really? Why are you guys talking about somebody that's not even involved here or never going to be involved? Vince McMahon does not give a damn about AEW or Impact Wrestling. Vince McMahon is in his own universe. He created the WWE universe just so he doesn't have to think or acknowledge other wrestling promotions. So I don't know. This still needs a little bit of legwork. I think it's good for Impact. It's helping them out more. It's getting their Twitch streams up tremendously, I guess. I didn't know that was such a big deal, but I guess this was probably the highest they did in streams or subscribers.
Yes, yeah. Sorry to interrupt, Nico. Yeah, but yeah. They usually average only around, I think, 5,000 on Twitch, and they did over 53,000 viewers on Twitch.
Okay. Good for those guys, I guess.
And they pulled 750,000 viewers total between Twitch and Access TV.
Okay, cool. Good for those guys. I got people in the wrestling industry that I consider friends, or at least great acquaintances that work for Impact Wrestling. So good for those guys. I want people to be able to make money, but I think there needs to be more to this, because while this benefits Impact Wrestling tremendously, I don't want to see AEW versus Impact. There isn't a match there that really excites me. I mean, maybe the North versus FTR, maybe Jericho versus Eddie Edwards, but are you telling me that a match like Kenny Omega versus Rich Swann is a match you would want to see right now? Seriously? Are you telling me a match like, I don't know, the Young Bucks versus the Good Brothers would be a match you want to see? We've seen that. We've seen the Young Bucks versus Generation Me. I mean, I don't know. There isn't really Deonna Purrazzo versus Sheeta, maybe, but like I feel like this is benefiting Impact more than it is AEW. When AEW just has all this buzz and all this hype around it, I kind of feel like this isn't helping them. That's just my 2 cents. Maybe if we can get other promotions involved, like a New Japan, or just maybe even NWA, maybe even Billy Corgan just says, "Hey, we'll work with you guys." I feel like it needs more. It needs more. If that makes sense. That's just my 2 cents. Andrew, wildcard, what do you got?
Well, first off, as you can tell by my Kenny apparel and my background here, I am quite ecstatic to see the Cleaner become the AEW World Champion. So congratulations, sir. First off, shout out for signing my my Redcon pre-workout here that I had just purchased here, 133. Sorry, I had to plug that shit right there. Anyway, Kenny, I see that look you're giving me there. All right. Anyway, so Kenny being world champion and how he won it, I dig it. I mean, people are so pissed about it, saying that it's it's a controversy, excuse me, that how he won it. Yes, but weren't we begging for it at some point? I mean, think about it, guys. He's the first guy from AEW to win the AEW championship that doesn't have any affiliation with WWE previously. Granted, he's only the third AEW world champion, but still. The fact that he actually became world champion is huge. And I'm not saying that just from a bias standpoint, but that is just from, a company standpoint, because he's earned it. I mean, we all know what Kenny Omega is capable of and what he's done in the past, and he's certainly earned the right to be AEW World Champion. Now, in terms of what he had said in Impact Wrestling, I love the promo that he and Don Callis cut on Impact. I thought it was very good quality there too. But honestly, the following night, I was kind of expecting something a little bit different. I'm sure a lot of fans were, but it was just very recycled. I was just telling Ezra earlier that, I wasn't too crazy about the fact that, they recycled that promo, essentially saying the same shit over and over again there too. And they didn't really give us much information as to what Kenny's going to do going forward here too. I mean, the only real big hint that we got, as you guys mentioned there too, is, he's going to become like a belt collector, the almost like an Ultimate Dragon type, and just go after just titles, which to me, it kind of gave me a like, at the time when I heard him say that, it was almost like, okay, he's going to go after Rich Swann. He's going to go after the Impact title right there, which Nico, I don't know why is it that you weren't crazy about the idea of having him and like Rich like wrestle each other. I mean, that's pretty good that's a pretty good damn match if you ask me. I mean, the quality of the match will be great there too, but in terms of just an Impact.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Why would that be a great match?
Because those two are actually really good in the ring.
Why?
Yes, but I mean,
Why?
the
No, no,
caliber
no.
of Rich
Hold up,
Swann.
hold up, hold up, hold up. Steve-O. Why? Andrew, why?
Oh, I'm taking your side, Nico. With like Rich Swann, like he's a talented individual, and I'm gonna get more to it when it's my turn. But yeah, I don't think he's world champion potential. Go ahead, Mark.
Right. But I want to hear Andrew's.
Here's the thing. I'm not. All right. So the thing is, it's like I'm not saying that. First of all, I'm not even saying anything about Rich Swann being a legitimate world champion. Have you heard me even say that at all?
No, but what I'm asking, no. What I'm asking you is this: you said you think it would be a good match. I'm not disagreeing with you, but I want to hear why you think that.
Because of the not from a storyline perspective. I'm just saying from those two being good wrestlers. I mean,
Okay, yeah, everybody's. I can name you. I can name you 10 good wrestlers right now in AEW and in Impact. But Kenny Omega is the champion, right?
yes.
Rich Swann is the champion of Impact, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you say from a performance level that Rich Swann, no disrespect to Rich Swann, I love Rich Swann, but would you say right now, if we're all excited about the potential partnership between AEW and Impact Wrestling, that the Impact Wrestling World Champion in Rich Swann, which all of a sudden is about maybe the third or fourth wrestling promotion in this country, is at the level of popularity and, let's say, from a casual fan's perspective, at the level as a performer of Kenny Omega?
So here's the thing about that. I will say that he is not at the level of Kenny Omega.
I'm asking you, because you said it would be a great wrestling match. Why would Kenny Omega versus Rich Swann be a great match? Please answer the question.
Okay, all right. So here's the thing about that then. So the thing is, I should basically say that those two, I'm sticking by what I'm saying here too, even though that it kind of goes against it, because to me, that those two in the ring are definitely, it's gold right there. Because you've seen Rich Swann wrestle, right? You've seen Kenny Omega. We obviously seen those two wrestle individually from their own individual promotions there too.
It's two different styles per se. You got the Kenny Omega strong style versus the high flying alternate style of Rich Swann.
So let me say a little bit of my thing. I mean, I'm going to let Wildcard finish, but no, there's no denial the match won't be a good match. I think that those two could put a great match. They both, Rich Swann works a high flying style. Kenny works his awesome style. I think they could, there's no doubt they could put on a good match. It's just not like a dream match. Like, let's say Kenny Omega versus a Roman Reigns, or Kenny Omega versus, I don't know, trying to think of another hot talent, but let's just go with Kenny Omega versus AJ Styles. Like, it's definitely not going to be on that part. The match itself will be fine, but it's just not a big caliber match. That's my personal take. Go ahead, Wildcard.
So that's the thing there too. Yeah, it's not going to be like, you know, it's going to be like a potential 5-star quality match there too. But like in terms of like star power, I mean, no offense to Rich Swann, but he doesn't necessarily bring that to the table there too, just based on his resume. I mean, it's like almost comparing like apples to oranges with this. I mean, you know, the thing about that is that, again, I stand by, it's going to be entertaining, but will it draw fans? Probably not, honestly. So, but anyway, before we got off into that huge tangent there, I wanted to at least finish my statement here with this. So other matches that I could potentially see that I would be interested in, anything with the Good Brothers, of course. I mean, that's always been hinted that they were going to be doing something with AEW. So that's always something that'd be very intriguing to see. I mean, it would be fun to see the Motor City Machine Guns wrestle whoever. I mean, we've seen him wrestle the Young Bucks like multiple times. I don't know. How about them and versus Private Party? You know, that actually would be a pretty entertaining match right there. Basically anybody in the tag team division versus the Machine Guns. You know, in terms of the women's division, I can't say for sure because I mean, you know, Deonna Purrazzo, Shida, you know, I mean, that's something that you know, that would be somewhat entertaining, but in the long run, you know, it would have been much more exciting to see a partnership between AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling. You know, if they ever announce that at some point, then the world's gonna fucking explode there too, because of the potential of the, you know, the potential matches that could be with that there too. But with Impact Wrestling, there's some good matches I could see there too, and I can see some good some good combinations if they ever do something like that. But you know, I don't know. I'm just not like buzzed out about it there too, because there's just not really a lot of star power. But anyway, that's my spiel.
You know, Kenny's the champion. A lot of us have been wanting this for a good long while. Just going into it, you know, like I said, like a lot of people are complaining, oh, it's all former WWE guys, or people were upset that Kenny wasn't being used like well, or he wasn't, you know, in the top spot. And that's the thing though. It's like, guys, you know, you say all this stuff and then he wins the title and people are like, oh my God, he just rewarded himself the world title. I can't believe they did this. It's like, shut the hell up. This is a great angle. I actually am intrigued by Don Callis being with Kenny. I didn't realize, like, you know, they did have that strong relationship. I do apologize. But yeah, I wasn't familiar with that, but I have like their back and forth stories. They had the promo on Impact. Meanwhile, they also had a promo on Dynamite. Both were pretty similar. It was almost like an encore presentation for the AEW Dynamite viewers. So, I mean, it was cool and all. So, you know, it is what it is. I am happy that the cleaner is the champion. I've liked that they've made him like such a huge deal as he comes out, as the ladies coming out, as the cleanerettes or whatever you want to call them. But I really like that. I think that stuff's cool. I'm happy that Kenny's champion. I hope he has a long, lengthy reign. I think he was being modest with like him being the champion earlier. I mean, not being the champion off the bat, but then people would have been very mad if he was like the first ever AEW world champion or even the second champion. But I'm happy that he's just like, okay, you know, I'm a star. I'm part of this promotion. This is why people are, this is why people are watching Dynamite in general. So congrats to Kenny. I'm happy about that. So I think this is great. I think this will be good for the future of AEW. Time will tell who will be the guy that takes him out. So getting into the next topic, or next part of the topic, Impact Wrestling and their crossover promotion. Just this, it's a little similar, you know, not 100% like it, but the whole time when we had the WWE WCW invasion angle, WCW wasn't as, if people can remember back in 2001, WCW, you know, when WWE finally bought them out, wasn't entirely as strong as they once were. Like they didn't have like a lot of the talents that they had, like, you know, during their prime days. Like Hogan was not available. Nash and Hall weren't available because they had contracts with Time Warner, etc. Goldberg wasn't available. So they didn't get to have like those dream matches off the bat. And that's kind of how it is with Impact, like kind of a little, you talked about Richard Swann. I'm not, like I said, I like the guy, but he's not the championship caliber. But yeah, I mean, like there are plenty of dream matches you can have in Impact Wrestling, Impact Wrestling and AEW. Like, let's go with like, you know, Motor City Machine Guns versus FTR. I think that would be a great match. Rosemary versus Abaddon. That'd be fun. I mean, there's a lot of scenarios if you think long and hard about it, just because there are a lot of dream scenarios. But yeah, the negative I'm going to get into, I'm not going to be too long with it, is I mean, granted, I do understand these shows were filmed a month ahead. I think that, coming off such a hot angle, I really wish that Impact would have put on a bit of a better show, or they could have edited it accordingly to make it a better show. As mentioned, Twitch got a big bump in views. AXS TV, not surprisingly, got a big bump in views. And if you even watched AEW Dynamite this week or follow the ratings, it was at 900,000 total viewers for that particular audience. That's almost to 1 million. So definitely, this all definitely generated a lot of buzz. I think we can maybe attribute some to Sting. We can attribute some to this potential crossover. We can potentially do it to just Kenny being the champion, et cetera, et cetera. But, without getting too much longer into this, I do want to say that I think that I think that Impact could have put on a bit of a better show, or they could have figured something out. Admittedly, I don't watch Impact too much, but I just didn't feel like it was like a strong episode to engage myself or returning viewer, some people who've never really watched Impact. I think they could have put on a stronger lineup. There were some decent matches, but that's pretty much my take. So yeah, I'm happy that Kenny's champion. I'm just going to end it at that. So we're going to get into our last topic for this evening. It involves a Chicago individual, if you will. So CM Punk was a guest on Oral Sessions with Renee Paquette. I apologize for mispronouncing the last name. Or the former Renee Young, if you will, just to talk about his wrestling career. And during the conversation, Punk revealed he has ideal conditions for him to return into the ring and participate in wrestling once again, be it the WWE or AEW, heck, maybe even New Japan. He revealed that AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling would be his ideal locations to work with. Do you guys think that AEW or New Japan Pro Wrestling will be able to meet his conditions? Or do you think WWE might try to jump in and say, okay, here's some more money than they can offer and try to get him back in? And who would be your ideal opponent for Punk wherever he signs? I'm going to pass this one off to let's do Nico to start off. How about you, man? What's your take?
Yeah, I'd give it straight to him because nobody's a bigger CM Punk mark than that SOB right there.
I was gonna let you guys go first, and then I was gonna finish it off, because I guess, wow, yeah. First of all, Renee Paquette, amazing podcast, Oral Sessions. I know the name gets a good, humorous pop amongst some people, but I highly recommend that podcast. After you're done checking out our podcast every single week, she's only done 3 episodes thus far, but the first 2, actually the first 3, because I did listen to the Punk podcast, but the 2 previous, with her husband John Moxley and MMA fighter and wrestler Josh Barnett, were 2 outstanding and amazing interviews. So highly recommend those if you're a wrestling fan, if you're a fan of combat sports, and if you're just a fan of good podcasts in general, of good conversations. Highly recommend Oral Sessions with Renee Paquette, formerly known as Renee Young from the WWE. But moving on to the topic at hand here, my guy, my buddy CM Punk. If there's anybody who's been the talk of the wrestling world, and they haven't been inside of a wrestling ring in over 6 years now, it's that guy. He's doing quite well for himself. I think over the past few years, even in little conversations that I've had with him, I'm not gonna say, while I'm good, I'll say acquaintances with CM Punk. I'm not gonna pretend to say like I know him. I've said that in the past, on our show and on other platforms, but he is being more relaxed and open to the idea of potentially getting back into the ring. As much as I would love to see him back in a WWE ring, and that's only because I think his WWE career deserves a better finish than just being chokeslammed by corporate Kane through the Spanish announce table. To me, that being his last memory in his run with the WWE, it doesn't sit well for me, not as a friend of his, but as a wrestling fan in general. That is something that doesn't sit right with me. But that's me being selfish. So if I could, I would have him finish that up properly, whether it's coming back for a one-off to put over whoever, whether it's to have a dream match with Samoa Joe in the WWE because of all their beautiful history in Ring of Honor, whether it's for him to come back to, I don't know, beat the crap out of Triple H and then just leave. I don't know what that is, but I just think his WWE run deserves a better finish than, oh, he was choke slammed through the Spanish announce table by Kane, corporate Kane, mind you, and then was never heard from or mentioned again, which, as you previously saw over the past 6 years, WWE has done everything in their power to try to pretend like he doesn't even exist. Um, the wrestling fan in me would love to see CM Punk in AEW. We heard rumors about what Punk said. Maybe there was maybe an offer via text. Maybe there wasn't. I don't know. I did it as a joke before All In with Ezra. Hey, Ezra, make this sign All In, and CM Punk holding up the sign with E and I in the picture. And he had a blast with that. He laughed his ass off and he said, have fun posting that one, you bastard. And then Matt and Nick Jackson both retweeted it. So I thought maybe I talked to Punk about it again. If he was getting that itch back at C2E2 earlier this year, the night of Revolution for AEW. I think there's more money, obviously, in AEW. You can do matches like him versus Kenny Omega, who truly is the best in the world. Even though it's been done before, you can run back CM Punk versus John Moxley. You can do CM Punk versus Chris Jericho. That'll never be a bad wrestling match. CM Punk versus MJF on promos alone, I think could sell out any arena as a headliner. But to me, I'm more interested in maybe if you were to go to New Japan, the big money match for me, and I've said this since back in the beginning of the year when he started talking about maybe getting back into the ring, I want to see CM Punk versus Will Ospreay. That to me is the match that I would put all my chips on. Will Ospreay has said CM Punk was a big influence on him. Will Ospreay, I think right now is the best wrestler in the world, bell to bell. The only wrestler I think that can rival Will Ospreay right now, from a performance standpoint, is Kota Ibushi. But I would love to see CM Punk versus Will Ospreay. The big money match right there could be CM Punk versus Kazuchika Okada. Punk has openly admitted that he doesn't know much of Okada's work. I find that hard to believe, but I think if he were to watch it, I think he could immediately know, hey, I can do this with Okada. We can do this, boom, 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 boom. And I guarantee you, and the way his mind works, they could do a match and tell a good story. And it'll be 5 stars if it's in the United States, 7 stars if it's in Japan because of Dave Meltzer and his amazing accurate rating. Can you hear the sarcasm in my voice? No, but anyways, long story short, I think it's wonderful that someone who is such a big influence on this generation of pro wrestlers in CM Punk is talking about pro wrestling again. And not just even if he's getting back in the ring, he's talking about good things that are happening in AEW, in New Japan. He's watching some of the products, even in WWE. So I think regardless if it happens, I think it has to happen at this point. I mean, for Christ's sake, if Tony Khan, and I'm not knocking Tony Khan because He's the one who's running a wrestling promotion. I'm not. But if he threw X amount of dollars at 60, how old is Sting?
If he is in his mid-60s.
Okay, if Sting is in his mid-60s, and I'm not knocking Sting here either. Seeing Sting on AEW these last 2 weeks has been freaking phenomenal. He's knocked it out of the park every time. But if Tony Khan can throw X amount of millions of dollars, because trust me, there's 6 zeros at the end of that check, if not more, towards a 60-year-old Sting, why not a 42-year-old CM Punk? I don't care if they're like, oh, his value's lost. He lost in MMA, this and that. So what? He did MMA. They came to him, not the other way around. I think if you'd say, hey, CM Punk, here's an idea. What do you think? He would say, all right, cool. What do you say? What if we do this? But I think dream matches like CM Punk versus Kenny Omega has to happen. I think a dream match like a CM Punk versus Will Ospreay in New Japan would be great. I think New Japan could use him more. And how about CM Punk versus Kenta? Who's got the better GTS? Obviously, we know Kenta does. CM Punk got the move from Kenta. He openly admitted that. But come on. You mean to tell me you can't write a story there? You mean to tell me you can't write a story of somewhere out of the blue, Tonga throws CM Punk a Bullet Club t-shirt? And then, I mean, you can do that. There's possibilities, and I'm getting excited just on the potential that, CM Punk get back into wrestling. Okay, I'm gonna hand this off because I'm rambling. I could sit here and talk all day. Ezra, go.
Thank you, Nico. A lot of those matches you said are a lot of matches I would like to see personally. Saying Okada, Will Ospreay, even Kenta. I would love to see those matches. As far as Punk coming back, it's gonna be basically. It's not gonna be when, it's gonna be if. And the if is if the money is right. We know that Punk is asking for a big payday. We know that AEW just dropped a shit ton of money on Sting for a fact. We know that Sting ain't coming to AEW for no less than what maybe a little less than what a Brock Lesnar would make. But the thing is, Sting's going to be there more often, it looks like, than Brock Lesnar ever did. So that's a plus for all the wrestling fans. But getting to what I was saying is that Punk, to me, it's going to be a matter of the money and the story that he's given. Punk's not going to go for some crap like 2-month, 3-month story and that's it. If Punk's coming back to wrestling, I'm pretty sure he wants a long-term story with a good amount of build. He wants to be near the top of the program, which he deserves to be. And he wants to be paid handsomely. I get that. When even though he was only in WWE for 8 years, he did more. He didn't created more waves in 8 years than some people did in a 20-year career. And that's something that we seen with the Pipe Bomb promo and his run from that time all the way through 2012 and 2011. So, he's done a lot, and he deserves that kind of payday. It's going to be dependent on who's going to pay him. I don't know if Suga Bayashi, who is the president of, or who is the owner of the parent company of New Japan, is going to be willing to shell out that kind of money. It's also going to depend on what the new president of New Japan, after Harold Meij left, we'll see what he wants to do. I'm pretty sure Tony Khan would shell out the money to get Punk, because I know that's a dream for Punk to be a part of AEW and to rekindle, some feuds with Mox and maybe Jericho, and even face some of the younger guys, like maybe face a Darby Allin, maybe face maybe even face Cody. It could be, there's some awesome matches that could happen on the AEW side as well. But like I said, it's going to be mainly dependent on the story and the almighty dollar. And I hope Punk returns. I would love to see him back in the ring. Will it happen? That remains to be seen. But that's all I got to say about that. I'm going to pass that on to Steve-O to close it out. Steve-O, go ahead, bud.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. He's one of the last few names that aren't in wrestling right now that that would benefit any company for having them, be it WWE, AEW, New Japan, Impact, Ring of Honor, you name it. Anybody, any promotion that Punk would go to would give it some kind of a spike. I don't know whether it would be, it depends on the size. I would expect, like, if we saw him on a Raw or SmackDown coming up, that he'd give it a sizable ratings boost. But yeah, it remains to be seen. And yeah, as Nico mentioned, like with Steen, I'm glad that he is in AEW. I think that he is definitely bringing attention to it. People who I know don't really talk much about wrestling was like, whoa, he's in AEW now. I might have to check this out. Or just like a lot of people were like, whoa, hey, Steen, I love that guy back in WCW or whatever. He brought a lot of attention. I think that CM Punk could be one of those names. I know not a lot, but I know some people who stopped watching wrestling when Punk went away, or at least just he might be one of the few reasons. He's definitely a popular name, and he's definitely established himself very well. May have had a bit of a negative run with UFC, but he still definitely had his fans there, despite losing. And, there's a lot of faithful Punk fans. So wherever he goes, I think he can attribute quite a bit to any of those promotions. And, though, where I'd want to see him personally, not in WWE. Don't get me wrong. I think there could be great matches. He can have it with the Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns. He can have some matches with, there's a lot of people. He could have one with Drew McIntyre. He can have it with Bobby Lashley. You name it, there's a lot of people. And like Punk said, like a lot of people that are currently there, he's, he didn't seem as enthused at the lineup of people where he's like, oh, I could have a dream match with them in the interview. Ultimately, I'm going to be an AEW fanboy on this one, and I'm going to say he should go to AEW. I think Tony Khan should break out the checkbook. I'm not sure what the exact numbers Punk has said that he'd want or how many dates he would need each year. Like, I'm not going to be too much longer. There's just a few quick points I want to get out. Anyways, Punk to AEW. Matches with Kenny Omega for sure. Darby Allin. We can even see something with Miro, like when they finally establish him. I think that they could have a good bout. I don't know. The sky's the limits with them. But yeah, definitely see a lot of great potential. I think that could be a name that would really boost AEW's status and ratings. May even be able to put them borderline near Raw numbers or SmackDown numbers. I think SmackDown gets higher now thanks to it being on Fox versus cable TV. But I think that Punk coming to AEW would be one of those big boosts where it's like, okay, AEW is a legitimate competitor to the WWE. Obviously, it doesn't have to be like multiple dates or too many dates all year round. Just a few set dates that, would accommodate both parties. And I think that would be something from there. That's personally what I would like to see. And I hope that Tony Khan and CM Punk could arrange some kind of an agreement that would be beneficial for both parties. And that's all I would have to say about that. That being said, thank you all so much for watching this episode of Too Sweet Converse. If you haven't done so already, follow us or be sure to subscribe to the Too Sweet Cosplay YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Too Sweet Cosplay. This week we are out of cosplayers, or we don't have we're still waiting on some of the submissions from some who have committed to be in. So this week we will forego the Cosplayer of the Week segment. However, we want to bring it back. So please send us a message on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter with your cosplay submission. Yeah, if anyone wants to take this line. Or how about we do it in unison? Send us your stuff.
All right, want to do it in unison?
Unison.
1,
2, 3.
Send us
your
stuff.
stuff.
And also, want to give a quick plug to our new follower, Synergy Pro Wrestling. Yes, we actually have a pro wrestling company following us, which is cool. 1 minute backstory. Synergy is a company that's risen up during this pandemic. It has really shown itself. They've had everybody from Thunder Rosa to, former Chikara people, Frightmare, Holodead, Jigsaw. They've had so many talents go through their doors. And coming up, they have a show called the Women's Garden State Invitational, 8 women tournament coming up, featuring Holodead, who's a former tag team partner of Thunder Rosa, and Tasha Steeles from Impact Wrestling. You can catch the show on independentwrestling.tv if you want to watch it. But check them out at Synergy Wrestle on Twitter. And thank you guys for following us. We deeply appreciate it. And from all of us here at Too Sweet Cosplay, have a 2 sweet week, everybody.